I call this meeting to order. Welcome to part 2 of the meeting number 34 of the House of Commons Standing Committee on Health. Today's meeting is taking place in hybrid format, even though there's no one on the... So here, we are all in person today then. I would like to remind participants the following points. Please wait until I recognize you by the name before speaking. And at the bottom of the screen, we don't need to say that, a reminder that all comments should be addressed to the chair. For members in the room, if you wish to speak, please raise your hand and clerk and I will manage the speaking order as best we can. And we appreciate your patience and understanding in this regard. Only one person should speak at a time to make sure that the health and well-being of the interpreters and others is considered. Chris Biddle, Honorable Chris Biddle, I would love to welcome you. You are becoming a regular contributor to this meeting. You're welcome.
I hope that isn't formal. It's a part-time. This is a part-time gig, and I appreciate everyone being here.
So, pursuant to Standing Order 1082 and the motion adopted by the committee on Tuesday, September 23rd, 2025, the committee shall resume its study of Canada's pharmaceutical sovereignty. The committee suspended its meeting on Tuesday, May the 7th, 2026, after a point of privilege has been moved by Dr. Strauss. Therefore, we are resuming this meeting, and I will render my decision. Madam Sidhu, you want to say something, or before I have to give my motion?
Yeah, just finished, Mr. Chair, after that.
Okay, after that. Okay, thank you. Okay. I'm going to relay my decision now as chair of this committee. I have considered the motion moved by Dr. Strauss concerning an alleged breach of privilege arising from testimony provided before this committee and the statements subsequently made in the House of Commons.
Chair, point of order.
As point of order.
Can you read that actual point of privilege? Are you going to read the whole?
You want me to?
Yes, please.
Okay, here we go. Okay, thank you, Mr. Major. I have honourable members. I will read the point of privilege. Minister's involvement with the Infoway. Mr. Chair, I will. This is from Dr. Strauss, not from me. Mr. Chair, I would like to raise a point of privilege. Yesterday, during question period, yesterday means on May the 6th, 2026. During question period, the Minister of Health was asked about the dismissal of Michael Green, the former CEO of Canada Health Infoway. The Minister stated, and I quote, "I spoke to the board of directors and they took the necessary steps." The Minister told the House of Commons that she personally intervened with Infoway's board and that Mr. Green's firing was the result of that intervention. On Tuesday, May the 5th, 2026, this committee heard directly from Dr. Peter Vaughan, the chair of Canada Health Infoway Board of Directors. Dr. Vaughan was asked whether the current federal health minister had ever personally raised concerns with him or the board about the $300 million spent on prescribed IT. Dr. Vaughan's answer was clear. He said no. In fact, he stated, and I quote, "The answer is no." These two statements cannot both be true. Either the Minister of Health told the House of Commons yesterday that she spoke to the board when she did not, or the chair of Canada Health Infoway told this committee on Tuesday that the minister never raised concerns when she had. House of Commons and its committees depend entirely on receiving truthful information from ministers and witnesses. When contradictory statements are made to the House and to the committee within days of each other, members of Parliament cannot do their job and Canadians cannot get the truth. I will draw the committee's attention to the House of Commons procedure and practices. Fourth edition, Chapter 3 confirms that the provision of deliberately misleading information to the House by a minister has frequently been raised as matter of privilege. It also sets out a three-part test. The statement must have been misleading, the person must have known it was incorrect, and they must have intended to mislead. These two statements, the minister's claim that she spoke to the board and chair's testimony that she did not, cannot both be true. At least one of them was knowingly false. I therefore move that this committee report to the House that the testimony of Dr. Peter Vaughan before the Standing Committee on Health on Tuesday and the statements of the Minister of Health in the House of Commons yesterday, which means May 6th, 2026, this is not what Dr. Strauss wrote, but to clear it, are directly contradictory. The Parliament has been misled and that this matter constitutes a breach of privilege. Thank you, Chair. Okay, thank you. And you want me to start from the beginning now?
Sure.
Sure, okay. So now my decision. As chair of the committee, I have considered the motion moved by Dr. Strauss concerning an alleged breach of privilege arising from testimony provided before this committee and statements subsequently made in the House of Commons. As members know, matters relating to privilege and contempt are serious. Deliberately misleading the House or one of its committees may constitute contempt. However, in order to reach such a conclusion, there must be a clear evidence that misleading information was provided intentionally. In this case, I'm not in a position to determine that any member or witness deliberately misled the committee or the House. There appears to be different accounts or interpretations of the facts, but the threshold for finding prima facie question of privilege or contempt is high one. In addition, the alleged contradiction involving statements made in the House of Commons falls within the jurisdiction of the House itself and ultimately the Speaker rather than the committee. Accordingly, I find that the motion as prescribed do not constitute a matter of privilege arising from the proceedings of this committee, and therefore the motion is inadmissible. Mr. Mazier and Dr. Strauss, if you want to challenge,
Sure.
you are welcome to challenge.
Can I state my case why I want to challenge?
No,
you?
but I mean, I just
challenge
the chair.
just a vote?
You are only have either to challenge the chair, and if you challenge the chair, there's no debate, and
Great.
I would have to directly go to the vote.
Okay.
Are you challenging the chair?
I am challenging the chair.
The
Obviously. Yes.
The chair is challenged. It is a non-debating motion, so I will ask the clerk to take the vote whether the chair should be sustained. So the vote is for the chair to be sustained, remain in its position.
Ms. Jaczek,
I sustain the chair.
just clarify that if they sustain the chair, they say yes.
Pardon?
Clarify that if they sustain the chair, they say yes. If they does not sustain the chair, they say no.
Okay, one thing I want to clear, if the members want the chair to be suspended, they should say yes. If they do not want the chair to be suspended, then the vote should be no. Sustained means vote has to be no.
Sustain.
He moved the challenge. So are we supporting the challenge or not? So if you are supporting the challenge, then the vote will be yes. If you are not supporting the challenge, the vote will be no.
Point of order. So just let's perhaps slow this down a little bit. If it is a vote to sustain the chair's ruling, if we are voting to sustain the chair's ruling, we are voting yes.
Right.
Okay, good. Okay.
So, okay, everybody is clear now? No?
That's the opposite of what you just said.
The decision, the question is.
Okay, I'm going to put it to the,
Okay. The question is, shall the decision of the chair be sustained? Yes, you sustain the chair. No, you do not sustain.
yeah, that's right.
That's it.
Okay. So, absolutely right. The way we wanted to go, the first thing I said is if you, to sustain the chair, the vote should be yes. Okay? Okay.
Ms. Jaczek,
Yes.
Ms. Sidhu. Yes. Mr. Rana,
Yes.
Mr. Elson,
Yes.
Ms. Chi,
Yes.
Mr. Biro,
Yes.
Mr. Bailey,
No.
Ms. Conans,
No.
Mr. Mazieu,
No.
Mr. Strauss,
No.
Mr. Blanchet-Jonca.
No.
Yes, 6, nays 5, chair is sustained.
So the chair is sustained. We are going to the,
Back to the,
the,
I'd like to speak on that.
yeah, we have Sonia and then Mr. Major. Point of order.
I think when the meeting was suspended, I had just moved my privilege motion, so I had the floor at that point, and I believe I would retain the floor.
No, you were not on the, there was no one on the speaking list, so your privileged motion was brought forward, and because there was no one on this list, now the list is called, and we have Ms. Sidhu and then Mr. Major.
But he wasn't done speaking. Point of order. He wasn't done speaking, so he still had the floor.
He had the floor, but he brought the motion of privilege, so then he loses that spot. Because the motion is, the privilege motion is I said, I did not entertain that.
Point
that
of order.
motion. Whittle.
They can challenge the chair or they don't challenge the chair. You've made a ruling with respect to Dr. Strauss's motion. You've made a ruling with respect to the who's on the list. They can put up their hands all they want. It's not a point of order what they're doing, and it's time to move on with the debate. And Ms. Sidhu has the floor.
Okay, so Mr. Bailey.
Thank you, Chair, for recognizing me. I am following your rule about putting my hand up, unlike the colleagues. And I would suggest to you that when we came into this meeting, Mrs. Sidhu
Just one person, please.
did not have her hand up. I was sitting here watching everyone, and you asked her if she wanted her hand up, and she indicated she didn't. And then we put our hands up. So I don't know how she can be first up when we had our hands. Thank you for hearing me, Chair.
Okay.
I am not the chairman, but the point of order is to clarify the rules. You clearly don't know what a point of order
Okay,
is. That's
Chris,
funny.
please.
Yes.
Okay, no more discussion.
Okay.
I, as a chair, I have the speaking list. I have Ms. Sidhu and then Mr. Major. Ms. Sidhu, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, just want to give the clarification. 3 times I raised my hand, and that this is something, maybe Mr. Bailey didn't see that, but I was raising my hand. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Now, I just want to say that on my...
Just there's a point of privilege right now.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to raise a point of privilege. On April the 21st, 2026, this committee heard testimony from Michael Green,
But-
the then CEO of Health Canada Infoway. During his testimony, Mr. Green was asked directly by a member of this committee about his compensation, given reports that the Liberal government had paid Canada Health Infoway $300 million for their failed prescribed IT program. He refused to answer. Instead,
Point of order.
he stated, and I quote, "It is
Hold on,
Point of
Mr.
order.
Bailey, hold on.
Point of order, Mr. Chair.
Just a minute, hold on. There's too much things going on. Just one person at a time. We have the speaking order. We have Ms. Sidhu, and then we have Mr. Major, and then we have Mr. Bailey. So I will follow that order. If Mr. Bailey want to bring in
Point of
that point of privilege, he can bring in the point of order right now. Point of privilege, he can bring in when his term comes in. So Ms. Sidhu, you have the floor.
Mr. Chair, I just want, because we were debating
Point of
my
order.
motion.
Point
while-
of order. There is a point of order again.
Can you please check with the clerk? When a person declares a point of privilege, they have the floor, once they're recognized. If you could just check
I'm
with
going to
that.
suspend the meeting here. So, honorable members, because right now, Ms. Sonia has the floor, and we are discussing the motion brought forward by her and the amendment brought. If the privilege motion is related to that particular motion and that particular topic, only then I will be able to entertain, otherwise no. So I would ask Mr. Bailey, is this motion, the privilege motion you are bringing in, is directly related to the motion
Chair.
brought forward?
Yes, Chair.
Okay, if you can read, then I'll figure it out.
Thank you, Chair.
And give me a copy as well, if you have one, please.
I don't.
You don't?
No.
Okay, so then I have to,
You can
Right.
take notes?
I'll take notes then.
Thank you.
Hold on.
You can send it by.
Mr. Chair, I'd
Can
like
you
to raise
give
this
it-
point of privilege
just-
again.
Just a minute. I'm just, if you can give a copy, we can make a copy here. Okay?
I can't give you a copy.
No? Okay. Oh,
Oh, after
Oh, after I'm done,
After-
certainly, certainly.
okay, back
give you
to,
this
back to Mr. Bailey.
Again, Mr. Chair, I'd like to raise a point of privilege. On April the 21st, 2026, this committee heard testimony from Michael Green, the then CEO of Canada Health Infoway. During his testimony, Mr. Green was asked directly by a member of this committee about his compensation, given reports that the Liberal government paid Canada Health Infoway $300 million for their failed prescribed IT program. He refused to answer. Instead, he stated, and I quote, "It is publicly disclosed." He repeated this claim moments later, telling the committee his compensation is publicly quoted. Mr. Green made this statement before a parliamentary committee. It was not true. On Tuesday, May the 5th, Dr. Peter Vaughan, the chair of Canadian Health Infoway's board of directors, confirmed this to the committee that Mr. Green's compensation was not publicly available at the time of his April 21st appearance. An archived version on Infoway's website from March 11th, 2026 confirms there was no compensation disclosure posted. Furthermore, the metadata of the earliest version of this disclosure document reviewed by this committee indicates it was created on April the 24th, 3 days after Mr. Green testified. Mr. Chair, let me be clear what happened. A witness appeared before this committee. He was asked a direct question about his salary, given that it's funded
Point
by
of order,
Canadian
Mr. Chair.
taxpayers.
Point of order, Ms. Sidhu.
It's relevant because
We are on the motion about an AI study, Mr. Chair. I just want to say that.
As Mr. Bailey, I earlier said that
Yes,
because the motion,
I'm getting to that part, yeah.
right, so it's better that you wrap up with the preamble if you need to. Just come back to the motion that we are on, please.
Mr. Chair, when I have a floor, I didn't finish my sentence, and then he's,
It's okay, let me, because if he brings in the motion of privilege, that matter of privilege, this is directly related to your motion, then I will entertain, because right now I'm not entertaining, because the preamble he has put together is not acceptable. So if he directly does not get to the motion right now, then I'm going to call this out of order, and I'm going to go back to Ms. Sidhu.
Okay. And we're clear, Chair, that I am speaking to my amendment to her motion, right? We're clear about that. So I'm going to continue. A witness appeared before this committee. He was asked a direct question about his salary, given that it's funded by Canadian taxpayers. And rather than answer this question, he told the members of the Parliament the information was already public. It was not. This document did not exist until after his testimony. This is not a matter of interpretation. It is clear that a witness told this committee a falsehood in order to avoid disclosing how much taxpayer money he was paid to oversee a $300 million program that failed. Only later was it reported that his salary was nearly $900,000 that year, which includes a maximum performance award of over $215,000. I would also draw the committee's attention to what happened after Michael Green refused to disclose his compensation. On April the 21st, this committee adopted a unanimous consent motion summoning Mr. Green to reappear for 2 hours. 8 days later, on April the 29th, The board of Canada Health Infoway suddenly dismissed Mr. Green effectively immediately. This committee was denied the opportunity to question him further on his misleading testimony and on the $300 million in taxpayer funds he oversaw. The timing of his dismissal raises serious questions about whether this committee's ability to recall and examine a key witness was deliberately obstructed. I will draw the committee's attention to the House of Commons Procedure and Practice, 4th edition. Paragraph 3.98 states that committees have reported to the House on cases of witnesses lying to a committee. Chapter 3 further states that if a committee determines a witness has given untruthful testimony, it may report the matter to the House, and that the House alone decides whether contempt has occurred. The House has acted on this authority before, finding George Radwanski, 2003, and RCMP Deputy Commissioner Barbara George in 2008 in contempt for providing misleading testimony to committee. Witnesses who appear before this committee are obligated to answer questions truthfully and completely. Mr. Green did neither. Parliament's ability to hold the government to account depends on witnesses telling the truth. If witnesses can appear before this committee, make false claims to avoid scrutiny, and face no consequences, then parliamentary accountability means nothing. I therefore move that this committee report to the House that Michael Green's testimony on April the 21st, 2026, regarding the public availability of his compensation constituted misleading the Standing Committee on Health and is a breach of privilege. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, I listened to the point of privilege brought forward. I'm gonna my decision that it is not in order, so I'm gonna go back to Ms. Sidhu. You want to challenge the chair? Challenge the chair. Okay, I just don't want everybody just to grab the mic and start speaking. Only one person. Raise your hand, Mr. Blanchett, Jonka, if you want to speak. Mr. John, you can challenge the chair. That's it.
Alors, Monsieur le Président, lors de la
Well, Mr. Chair, during the last meeting, you were not able to make a decision on the spot, given the complexity of the question of privilege. Now you're saying that...
I asked you the question. Either you have only one try. You want to challenge the chair or you want to entertain the decision?
c'est un rappel au règlement, Monsieur le Président.
It's a point of order, Chair, just to say the following.
Président, je comprends.
Mr. Chair, I don't understand why you're cutting me off when I take the floor.
Asking you if you are challenging the chair.
Vous venez de le faire à 2 reprises.
You just cut me off twice.
I asked the question, are you challenging my ruling?
Alors, je vous ai posé la question sur...
Well, I asked you a question about the admissibility of the question of privilege. I would like you to explain to us today that why you are able to make a decision on the spot that you were not able to make on the spot during our last meeting. That's my question.
The chair can do that, and I have done that, and now I'm going to move on to Mr. Major.
Yeah, I think you just need to explain to the committee why this is not in order. I think that's it is in order. You referred to the clerk; he was allowed to speak. So now you can do what you want, but you've heard the speech from Mr. Burton, so it is in order. I guess I argue that, but I mean, so now what do you do with the decision? It's your choice, Chair. It's not so much of it, it's not being in order, but it is now what you've heard the claim, so now what are you going to do with that? But it is definitely in order. And it's in order because it was related to the amendment that was on the motion.
Mr. Major, time and time again, I'm telling you, if I have enough evidence, what we are saying, whether we are misleading, whether someone is falsely making statements here, then one of the members can take this to the House of Commons, to the Speaker, and Speaker can do that. right?
Yeah,
But
so what you're saying, then you don't find it a point of privilege.
that's right.
Okay, so
Okay,
that,
thank you.
and then why?
Why?
Because we don't have enough evidence. What he's saying is there. That's what my belief is. And if you feel that is there, and certainly member can raise it. If member has the vote in the committee, then they can take it to the House of Commons and can raise it there.
So if you're ruling that it is not a point of privilege, I will challenge the chair.
Okay, the chair is challenged. The vote is to sustain the chair.
Chair, before you start,
It's
did you
already
want a
done.
copy?
The clerk
Did
is
you want a
taking-
copy of this? Because you haven't even reviewed my copy. I thought you wanted a
Clerk
copy.
is taking the vote right now.
I don't know. I don't think he wants it.
You can give me the copy, but the vote is called. I would appreciate a copy.
Just asking if you want to review the copy before you called the vote. No?
I have called the vote now. I'm not going to go back.
Miss Sidhu,
Sustain the chair.
Miss Chi,
Yes.
Mr. Rana,
Yes.
Miss Jagsek,
Yes.
Mr. Elfson,
Yes.
Mr. Batiste,
Yes.
Mr. Bailey,
No, please don't turn the cameras off.
Miss Conans,
No, and let's keep the cameras going here for the public.
Mr. Mazier,
No.
Mr. Strauss,
No.
Mr. Blanchet-Jonca.
No.
Okay, the chair is sustained. Ms. Sidhu.
Mr. Chair, I move to adjourn debate on my AI motion. Thank you.
There is a motion to adjourn the debate, non-debatable. Clerk, take the vote, please.
Can you read that motion, please? Actually, it was on the amendment.
Adjourn the debate, we'll
Okay.
adjourn everything. Okay?
Never mind.
Miss Sidhu,
Yes.
Miss Chi,
Yes.
Mr. Rana,
Yes.
Miss Jagsek,
Yes.
Mr. Elfson,
Yes.
Mr. Batiste,
Yes.
Mr. Bailey,
No.
Miss Conans,
No.
Mr. Mazier,
No.
Mr. Strauss,
No.
Mr. Blanchet-Jonca.
No.
Chair, I'd like to speak after this.
The vote is on. I'm not going to
Okay.
entertain anybody. The debate is adjourned, and I have Mr. A. Paulson on the list. Please go ahead.
Whoa. I didn't think you were going to interrupt anything. When did he put his hand up? When did that all
after the
happen?
vote. Right after the vote. Mr.
Please remember. Wow.
Mr. A. Olson, you have the floor. Please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Chair.
Okay,
Point of order, Chair. What was the result of the vote, please?
The debate is adjourned.
What was the
Result
result?
is everything is clean sweep. Whoever had there, that's gone, and the new order starts. And Dr. Alfonson, you
I'd
have
like
the
to
floor.
speak on Mr. Elfson.
Okay. Anybody other point of order? If it's not related to the same subject.
It's no point of order. I'm just not getting on the speaker list.
Okay. Speaking.
Rappel au règlement, Monsieur le Président.
Mr.
Point of order, Chair.
Mr. Strauss.
Rappel au règlement, Monsieur le Président.
Point of order, Chair.
Of order now on a different matter.
I was going to speak first. The clerk saw my name. I was after.
No.
Mr. Strauss, then Mr. Mazier.
No.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Mazier is after Dr. Strauss. Okay.
Rappel au
Dr.
règlement,
Alfonson,
Monsieur le
you have
Président.
the floor.
All right,
Rappel au
thank you, Chair.
règlement, Monsieur le Président.
In Manitoba right now,
Point of order,
it-
Chair.
Président.
There is another point of order from Mr. Blanchard Jonka.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. C'est possible d'être plus attentif.
Thank you, Chair. Could you please pay more attention to the points of order? I understand there's a lot happening at the same time, but I just would like you to ask the members of the committee if we can have one person speaking at a time only, because otherwise it becomes really hard for the interpreters who cannot literally interpret when we have multiple people speaking at the same time. Thank you.
Mr. Blanchard Jonka, point well taken, and that's what I have said time and time again. And some of the members that are not respecting that saying, I want every member to be respectful to the interpreters and to honorable members. So one person at a time, and I have the speaking list right now, Dr. Elfolson, and then Dr. Strauss and Mr. Major. Mr. Elfolson, you go ahead, please.
All right,
Chair,
thank you, Chair.
I have a point of
I would
privilege.
move-
I have a point of privilege.
If this is the intention of this is where I'm coming right now, right? I mean, you can raise as many points of order, you can raise as many points of privilege. I will, just a minute, Mr. Major, I'm speaking. You got to respect the chair,
Sure.
okay? So if,
Point of order.
Point of order, I can take the
have a
point of
point
order.
of privilege, am I not allowed to speak?
because right now, there's nothing on the subject right now, so the point of privilege can be on the subject matter. Let
Exactly.
the subject matter come in, and then I will give you the floor.
No, it's on,
Okay?
no.
Okay? So right now, we have, let me entertain Mr. Alphonse. Please go ahead, Doctor.
All right,
Okay,
thank you, Chair. I would
point
like
of
to,
order.
I would like
Point
to
of
mo-
order.
There's a point of
present
order.
the floor.
I have to take the point
All
of
right.
order.
Okay, Chair, could you please talk to the clerk about
Point of
whether
order.
point of privilege needs to be,
Point of order.
why I can't speak about
of
anything when
order.
I do a point of order? It's a priority.
Yeah, priority.
Please
Point
ask
of
the
order.
clerk.
There's another point of order. Ms.
Yeah.
Cheese, you have another point of order?
Does she agree?
So I just want to, Chair, I think what just happened this meeting was just really, really atrocious. The disrespect directed towards the chair and disrespected that's directed towards our member here. And Sonia Misidou and Doug, Dr. Avison couldn't even get a word in before someone calls point of privilege or point of order. And I find it extremely, extremely disrespectful. And if we want to run a functional committee, I ask people to allow members around the table to speak before you call anything. Can we please let that happen?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. A. Paulson, please go
All right,
ahead.
thank you.
Excuse
I
me,
would like
point
to
of
move
order?
that
There's another
pursuant to
point
standing
of order
order.
now.
Okay.
So this is exactly, I tell you right now, I have chaired committees in the past. I have worked very well with both sides, very fair, and I tell you right now, the way I see right now is if we can work together, right, in a very transparent and fair manner, we will be able to achieve things, because health is one of the most important topics and issue in Canadians' lives. And if we as members do not take serious, I know that the Canadians are watching right now. So you can raise as many as points of order as you want. You can raise as many points of privilege as you want. I will make sure that I entertain you, but at the same time, I would like to see some work done here in this committee as well. So, Ms. Konaz, you have a point of order. Please go ahead.
Yes. My original question, matters of privilege do not need to be related to the matters matter at hand. Can you please confirm that with?
Point of order. That's not a point of order, Mr. Chair.
Yes, I have a point of privilege.
I'm
Said
going to
point of
suspend the
privilege.
meeting right now.
I have a point of
Okay.
privilege.
one thing I want to tell the members that the chair of the committee does not have the power to rule on questions of privilege. Only the speaker has that power. And the motion, that privilege, point of privilege that you want to bring forward has to be recent, not 4 weeks, 5 weeks before. So if that is to do with what we are doing today, I would entertain that. Madam Konaz.
Okay, Chair, I'd like to raise a point of privilege. On April 21st, 2026, this committee
Madam
heard...
Konaz, I said April 21st, and today is May, and it's weeks. You had the opportunity, earliest opportunity to raise this point of privilege at that time. You did not raise that, so I'm not going to entertain that. Okay? So if you want to challenge the chair, you do challenge. Okay? If not, then Dr. Alfonson, you have the floor. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I would like
Point of
to
order, Chair.
present the following motion.
Point of order.
Okay.
I just wanted to refer to Standing Order 3.86 on Chapter 3, Privileges and Immunities. A question of privilege arising out of the proceedings during the course of a sitting may be raised immediately without notice.
That's my decision. I have made the decision. Mr. Alfonson, yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to move the following motion that pursuant to Standing Order 108-2, or 108 paragraph 2, the Standing Committee on Health undertake an urgent study on the rising rates of HIV infections in Canada, with particular attention to the recent declaration of a public health emergency by the province of Manitoba related to the spread of HIV, including the disproportionate impacts on Indigenous peoples, women, rural and northern communities, and individuals experiencing homelessness, mental health challenges, and substance use disorders. And that the study examined federal programs, funding, prevention strategies, access to testing, treatment, harm reduction initiatives, public awareness efforts, and intergovernmental coordination related to HIV prevention, care, and support services. That the committee hold no fewer than 2 meetings on this subject, and that witnesses include officials from the Public Health Agency of Canada, representatives from Manitoba Health, Indigenous health organizations, frontline community organizations, medical and public health experts, and individuals with lived experience, and that the committee report its findings and recommendations to the House.
Thank you. Ms. Sidhu. Point of order.
I thought I was on the speaking list after.
Are you going to speak to that
Absolutely.
motion?
Yeah.
Okay, then go ahead, Mr. Strauss, and then Mr. Mazier, and then Ms. Sidhu.
Point of order, Chair. Mr. Chair, when Mr. Alfonson start reading the motion, I just raised my hand up 3 times.
I agree. Ms. Sidhu, if they are going to talk to this motion, because their hand was up as well, and I have to give them the floor, and then I will come back to, if it's not related to this, then I can only overwrite and then come back to you. Okay, so we have the speaking list right now. I just want to make sure that everybody knows who is speaking when. So we have Dr. Strauss, Mr. Mazier, Ms. Sidhu, and Ms. Konaz. Okay, thank you, Dr. Strauss.
Thank you, Chair. May I begin by congratulating Mr. Elfson, or Dr. Elfson, for, I think, a really important study proposal that I would be pleased to support in due time. I think it's much better than the previous study proposal. I think that there actually is expertise on this topic at this table, which was not the case for the AI study that was proposed. So I'm pleased that AI study was withdrawn. I also commend the member opposite for keeping it to 2 meetings. I think we can get a lot done in 2 meetings. I think that's all really important. But I think we have to kind of put everything on the correct timeline. So we have done 3 studies. We have not prepared any reports. This House is rising in 4 weeks. I'm not going to remember when we get back all of the testimony that we heard. I think if we want to prepare the best reports possible, we should prepare the reports for the studies that we've already done before entertaining new studies. I think that's just kind of like basic, let's get our homework done. This is an extremely important topic that Dr. Elfson has proposed, but so were the last 3. So I have this issue of just getting the proper work done at the proper time. I also have the issue of basic fairness. So when the vice chairs met when this committee was first comprised, a member from each party agreed that there would be a conservative study, then a bloc study, then a liberal study. And we had a majority, the bloc members and ourselves at that time, and we, out of collegiality, agreed to let the Liberals have a study. And I'm surprised that degree of collegiality is not being extended to us now that they have a majority. So we did not insist, we didn't pass any motions to study our study before they had determined which study they wanted to do, and we agreed all at once, all together, to do those 3 studies. And I think that's the sort of collaboration, basic respect that Canadians expect to see from all members of this House and all members of this committee. So although I think it's a really important study that he's proposed, it just has to be said that it was done without discussion. I don't know that the vice chairs were convened. I don't know that they asked us what study we would like to do. And so it feels a lot like butting the line. And then there still remains these questions of the testimony that this committee has already heard being false. And it's a really important study that he wants to do. I want to make sure that we have procedures in place and the expectation in place that when witnesses come to testify to his study on HIV, that those witnesses give true information. And if just a few weeks ago, a CEO of a nonprofit came and gave false information, and there's been no repercussions of that, and in fact our attempts to raise this as points of privilege in this committee were rebuffed, then I don't think we have, as a committee, the integrity to deal with a topic as serious as what Dr. Elson has proposed. So bearing those 3 things in mind, getting the work done in terms of our homework for the studies we've already completed, the basic fairness issue of let's do their study, but let's also do a study of ours, and this issue of is this committee hearing true testimony or false testimony? I mean, if it's false, what are we going to do about that? I would like to propose the following amendment to Dr. Elfson's motion, that the motion be amended by adding, after the words, that the committee hold no fewer than 2 meetings on this subject, the following: that the committee not commence this study until the Minister of Health has appeared before the committee for no less than 2 hours to testify on the Liberal government's failed Prescribe IT program, including the program's costs, governance, termination, adoption failures, intellectual property arrangements, and the Minister's oversight of Canada Health Infoway. That ends the text of the motion. And I just want to say that this amendment is a quick, I hope no one will say slapdash, but a quick way to at least get that, I mean, the issue of the vice chairs not having convened. Sure.
First of all, because this amendment you are bringing in is not related to that motion, so I call the amendment out of order. So I'm going to move on to Mr. Major. Please go ahead. If you have to speak on Dr. Elson.
It's very related. Can we? I don't understand what you're even saying. How is it not related, Chair?
He's talking about AI right now, and the motion is on the.
Mr. Strauss, could you please reread that amendment to the motion?
Can you send the copy of the motion right now to so as we can read it? And within the meantime, I'm going to suspend for 2 minutes. Okay. meeting back to order. The honorable members got the copy of the amendment. Okay. So, Mr. A. Paulson brought a motion forward that pursuant to Standing Order 1082, Standing Committee on Health undertake an urgent study on rising rates of HIV infections in Canada, with particular attention to the recent declaration of a public health emergency by province of Manitoba related to spread of HIV, including the disappropriate impacts on Indigenous peoples, women, rural and northern communities, and individuals experiencing homelessness, mental health challenges, and substance use orders. That the study examine federal programs, funding, prevention strategies, access to testing and treatment, harm reduction initiatives, public awareness efforts, and intergovernmental coordination related to HIV prevention care and support services. That the committee hold no fewer than 2 meetings on this subject. That witnesses include officials from Public Health Agency of Canada, representatives from Manitoba Health, Indigenous Health Organization, Frontline Community Organization, medical and public health experts, and individuals with lived experience, and that the committee report its findings and recommendations to the House. And there is an amendment brought by Dr. Strauss, that the motion be amended by adding after the words that the committee hold no fewer than 2 meetings on the subject the following: that the committee not commence this study until the Minister of Health has appeared before the committee for no less than 2 hours to testify on Liberal government's failed prescribed IT program. So I'm going to repeat again. Liberal government's failed prescribed IT program, including the program cost, governance, termination, adoption failures, intellectual property arrangements, and ministers' oversight of Canada Health Infobay. So when I look at the motion brought forward by Doug Paulson and the amendment brought by Dr. Strauss, the amendment brought by Dr. Strauss is not related to the subject of HIV. In fact, it is talking about the prescribed IT, which we are not studying now. So I will call this amendment out of order. So we are back to...
Point of order.
There is a point of order now.
You sound impressed. This is directly, we're talking about the study not commencing until we get the prescribed IT settlement done. That is, so it's directly related to the committee, the subject at hand.
That is your understanding, Mr. Major, because this amendment is not in relation to the subject on HIV, and so I called this motion amendment to the motion out of order.
I'll challenge the chair on that.
Okay, the chair is challenged, and we'll take the vote. Clerk will take the vote to sustain the chair.
Ms. Sidhu.
Yes, sustain the chair.
Ms. Chi.
Yes.
Mr. Rana.
Yes.
Ms. Jaczek.
Yes.
Mr. Epson.
In response to another comment about whether or not the cameras be
Yes.
on, this has nothing to do with cameras being on, and I vote yes.
Just yes or no, please.
Then
Baptiste.
all members should be
Yes.
advised to remember that. Mr. Bailey.
Mr. Bailey.
Should ask Maggie about that.
Just one person at a time, please. The vote is on. So, Mr. Bailey is.
Do you want to turn them off?
Yeah, you want them off? You can move them.
Thanks for doing that. Really appreciate you
You got the vote?
keeping them on for
Waiting for the
Canadians.
Mr.
Bailey?
Mr. Bailey.
quiet, please. Mr. Bailey, you have the floor.
Yeah, I said no.
Ms. Gonans,
No.
Mr. Mazier,
No.
Mr. Strauss. No. Mr. Blanchet-Jonca.
Non.
Okay, the chair is sustained. We are back to the motion brought forward by Mr. A. Paulson, Madam Sidhu. No. Yes. If you want to speak only on this motion,
Yeah, the list
Okay.
is there. Just take a look right there.
but you were those were on the amendment.
No.
You were raising
No.
The amendment is out of order.
amendment is out of order. So now Mr. Mazier and Ms. Sidhu.
Yes.
Okay, and then Madam Konas and Mr. A. Paulson, you want to be on the list too? You had raised your hand, just to make sure.
No, that was on the amendment, which.
Okay, good, so that's gone. Okay, so, and you?
I should
Mr.
be on the
Bailey.
list from before, no? Yeah.
Mr. Bailey
Oh, you did say it? Okay, good.
and Mr. Mazier, go ahead, please.
Did you want to be on the list too?
For the list.
That's okay, we'll put you on. Right now, this is a good subject to study. I mean, there's a crisis in Manitoba. Mr. Mazier and Dr. A. Paulson is from Manitoba. Let we listen to them first and give them the opportunity. So I will give Mr. Mazier the opportunity, your home province.
Thank you, Chair. And I really do appreciate offering me the floor to actually speak on this. And it is, like you say, in our home province, HIV is a very important subject to study. And I know in Swan River itself, the problem is in Manitoba is that what we're doing is not working. That's the bigger problem of us. It's just unmanageable how many needles are being actually distributed through Manitoba, and we'll get to that hopefully in the study. But to follow up on Mr. Ifson's comment about being truly transparent and having the cameras on, I move the following motion.
You are
I'm going to
amendment to
move
the
the
motion?
following motion, and I believe
Amendment to the motion.
amendment to the motion.
Okay, please go ahead.
That the motion be amended by adding after the words that the committee hold no fewer than 2 meetings on this subject, the following. That all meetings held as part of the study at which witnesses appear be held in public and televised with the committee cameras turned on in the interest of transparency and accountability to Canadians, including Canadians who were betrayed when the Liberal members voted to move the committee in camera during an emergency meeting on prescribed IT earlier this year. So I move that amendment.
You have the copy that I can
Going to
have?
distribute it now.
Okay. So we're going to take few seconds here before the clerk distribute the amendment. Suspended. To order. So the honorable members have received the amendment brought forward by Mr. Mazier. Everyone has a copy? Okay, so I don't need to read it. So I'm going to read it to you. House of Commons Procedures and Practice, 4th edition, 2025, section 20.93. On occasion, a committee may decide to hold an in-camera meeting. A committee can hold such meetings for various reasons. For example, to deal with administrative matters or future business of the committee, to consider a draft report, or to receive a briefing. Committees also meet in camera to deal with documents or matters relating to requiring confidentiality, such as national security, or to hear sensitive testimony from witnesses requiring confidentiality or anonymity. Depending on the needs, a committee may conduct one part of the meeting in public and the other part in camera. Subcommittees on agenda and procedure usually meet in camera. Any member may move the motion to go from sitting in public to sitting in camera and vice versa at any time. The motion is decided immediately without debate or amendment. In practice, committees often change from one to the other at suggestion of the chair with the implied consent of the members. Most committees regularly adopt a motion to keep transcripts of in-camera meetings in committee clerk's office for consultation by committee staff, members, or members' staff. Minutes in the camera meetings are publicly available, but certain information usually found in minutes of public committee meetings is not included. For instance, only the final text of the motion adopted by the committee during in-camera meetings appear in committee's minutes of proceedings. Neither the names nor the names of the members who voted for or against the motion is published. On occasion, committees decide to make in-camera proceedings public and vice versa. Neither the public nor the media is permitted at in-camera meetings, and there is no broadcasting of the proceeding. Usually only the committee members, the committee staff, and invited witnesses, if any, attend the camera meeting. Members of the House who are not members of the committee normally withdraw when the committee is meeting in camera. However, the committee may allow them to remain in the meeting room just as it may allow other individuals to remain, while people may participate remotely during in-camera meetings. They are expected to maintain the confidentiality of the proceedings. Divulging any part of the proceedings of an in-camera committee meeting has been ruled by the Speaker to constitute a prima facie matter of privilege. However, if a committee does not report a divulgation of in-camera proceeding, the speaker has ruled that there is no procedural grounds on which to intervene. So I'm sure the honorable members, the section 20.93 is very clear that committee members with majority can decide any time.
Sorry, go ahead. I was just thinking out loud.
Mr. Major, committee can decide any time. They can go in camera or in public. So the amendment brought by Mr. Major overrides the House of Commons procedures and practice, which is not the precedent set by any of the committee. So I call this motion, amendment to the motion, out of order. The floor is with Ms. Sidhu.
Whoa, I was still had the floor, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Point of order.
You have,
I had not finished my motion. I could talk. I moved my motion, and then I have a chance to talk on it. But then I gave you the
amendment.
grace.
Listen to me. You have brought in the amendment to the motion, and the amendment is out of order.
So
And I'm going back to the. I'm going back to the,
Okay.
to the motion itself now. And if you want to be on the list, you can raise your hand, and I will put you back on the speaking list.
just so
Ms. Sidhu.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I want to thank my honorable colleague for bringing forward this important motion on such an urgent issue. HIV/AIDS continues to impact communities across Canada. This is being felt deeply in Manitoba. Recently, Manitoba declared a public health emergency as HIV rates rise. In 2025, there were 328 new cases, more than double the cases in 2021, and over 3 times the cases by 2019. These numbers are especially concerning because HIV often affects those who are most vulnerable, including 2S LGBTQI+ communities. Therefore, Mr. Chair, I move that the motion be amended by inserting the following text in specific regions and populations, including 2S LGBTQI+ communities, after the words disproportionate impacts. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Amendment.
Yes.
Is everyone agreed to the amendment?
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank
on
you,
this
Mr.
side?
Chair.
All okay? Everyone good? You need the copy? Okay,
We are-
so I'll suspend for a few seconds, minutes, if you can send a copy to the,
So it's
to the member. Huh?
Thank you.
It's circulating.
Is circulated?
I just received it.
Okay, the clerk just received it. She will circulate. I'm going to suspend the meeting for a few minutes here, please. And the back to order. Okay, honorable members, I hope everyone received the copy of the amendment brought forward by Ms. Sidhu. Everybody in agreement with that? Okay, Dr. Strauss, you are speaking on the amendment brought by Ms. Sidhu.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, it was lovely to have the opportunity to review the amendment in writing. I don't have it before me at this moment, but I saw generally when I see that acronym used in government documents, there are two Qs and an A, and the two Qs, the second Q and the A are missing, and I wonder if the member proposing the sub-amendment could just explain why she made that style choice on this occasion before we vote for it.
I would give the floor to Ms. Sidhu.
Like Q.
Yeah, 2Q, it is there. Maybe we'll send it again, and then just give 1 second.
Dr. Strauss, you got it?
Yeah, Chair, I only see one Q. There's a two, but usually it's QQ, like two Qs.
two.
And there's no A. So I just wonder if something's changed.
Mr. Chair, if Dr. Strauss want to make a friendly amendment, that's fine.
Okay. Dr.
No,
Strauss?
I don't need an. I have no particular amendment to make. It's her motion. So if she made that style choice, I was just curious as to
Any
why
other
it's
member
not-
want to amend this with a friendly amendment? Otherwise, we'll go with the wording as it is.
Yeah, so, and when you look at the University of Manitoba, they give a description of it. and it's
Maybe they do it differently than.
Pardon? Double S. Dr. Strauss?
So if, like, I guess, because if we leave it as just one Q, then I'm not sure which Q that Q stands for. So could
this is
we-
why
like,
Dr.
I wonder if we
Strauss-
should just, I wonder if we should avoid acronyms in these motions in general and spell it out. So if the member could maybe spell it out.
Okay.
So that we're just clear on which communities are being specially consulted.
Thank you, Dr. Strauss, and I would give the floor to Madam Sidhu. Madam Sidhu, you want to spell it or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can. Yeah, we can.
You want me to suspend for a few seconds or you have the wording?
If Dr. Strauss want to make a friendly amendment, otherwise, like we can send it to again.
They could send it.
We will send it again.
Can you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to resend then. Here we go. Just resend. honorable members, the amendment is with you, and the amendment is as is brought forward by Ms. Sidhu. If there is no other member want to bring an sub-amendment to it or friendly amendment, then I'm going to see if everyone is in favor of the amendment, then we vote on that. Everyone in favor, or anyone speak to, want to speak, or?
voting.
Voting. Oh, just on the amendment, right? Okay,
Did we add a queue or did
we can't, because unless someone else brings in,
Well, no one from your team wants to amend it?
you want to?
No, it's,
I thought.
that's good.
but aren't
Okay.
you the one
If you're
sorry?
good with it, we're good with it. So yeah,
Okay,
you
good.
see.
Okay, all in favor? Anyone against? Only one, Mr. Blanchett Jonka?
Possible de demander le vote, Monsieur le Président?
I just would like to ask for the vote, Chair.
Okay, the vote is called, and clerk, please take the vote
On the amendment.
on the amendment.
Ms. Sidhu,
Yes.
Ms. Chi,
Yes.
Mr. Rana,
Yes.
Ms. Jackson,
Yes.
Mr. Elson,
Yes.
Mr. Betis,
Yes.
Mr. Bailey,
Yes.
Ms. Conans,
Yes.
Mr. Mazier,
Yes.
Mr. Strauss,
Yes.
Monsieur Blanchet Jonca.
Oui.
Zero. Okay. We're back to the motion, as amended now, and I'm going to go to the speaking list. We have Ms. Sidhu, then Madam Konaz, and then Mr. Bailey and Ms. Chi. Then you. Okay.
I'm next.
Okay. Are you done?
No, I.
Done? Okay. So now we will go to Madam Konaz. Please go ahead.
So now I'm speaking to the main motion, correct?
Motion as amended.
As amended. Thank you. Yes, so I want to make this really clear that thank you so much for bringing this forward. I think this is obviously an urgent study that we need, and we need to study Canadians across the entire country, not just Manitoba, but obviously Manitoba seems to be, well, obviously there was a recent declaration of public health emergency, and so this is vital that we do this study. But I do want to say that it's very important that we do it across communities across Canada. The city that I live in Penticton, was recently the overdose rate in the first quarter of our city rose by 500%, an overdose rate up 500% from the quarter before. So, and the reason why, obviously, this is important is you can see that we're looking at people with substance disorders in this to see to study about the HIV rates across Canada. So, as you can see, this is very important in the city of Penticton and also across Canada. But I would like to make a motion to amend this. Again, extremely important. We need to continue with this study, but I'd like to make the motion that after the words that the committee hold no fewer than 2 meetings on this subject, the following: that the committee not commence a study until Michael Green, the former president and chief executive officer of Canada Health Infoway, has appeared before the committee for no less than 2 hours to testify on his role in the implementation and oversight of the Liberal government's failed $300 million prescribed IT program, including his inability to answer basic questions during his previous appearance before the Standing Committee on Health, and his sudden dismissal by Canada Health Infoway following the collapse of this program.
As I have previously made my my recommendations and decision, and this is not related to the HIV subject that we are dealing with. So this is out of order. So we are going to the
Well,
next
hang on.
speaker, Mr. Bailey. Please go ahead.
Chair,
Floor
point
is
of
with-
order.
Point of order, Mr. Major.
So a member brought forward a motion that at least should be distributed, at least so the committee can look at it. And then we can vote on it.
I
because the-
called
the
this
chair-
out of order. I mean, I listened to this and I
You-
grasped it.
What did you pick up from it?
I'm not going to explain. I told you that if you just want to keep on interrupting time and time again,
I'm not
because we are
interrupting.
doing an important study on HIV, and your province is the one that's most
All I'm asking
effective,
is a voice
and
for
you are the one.
democracy.
And
All
you,
we're asking is for make
you
sure
respect
that
my
Michael
decision
Green
then.
is coming back.
If you're not going to respect my decision,
Prescribe IT is a
If-
failure. Prescribe IT
please
is
cut
a
the
failure.
mic off for Mr. Major.
Oh, shut me up.
Yeah,
Why don't you
I-
just shut the cameras off too?
Point of privilege.
This-
What
this
about
is-
a point of
this is-
privilege?
Shutting off a mic from MP.
Mr. Batiste, you have point of order.
At a repetition, because this has been ruled on before. It seems
No,
like
it's
the
completely
Liberal
different.
Party and our government is trying to put together a study that's of real importance to Indigenous people all across Canada, and especially in Manitoba, after their premier has said there's a crisis. We're trying to get to that study and that crisis, and a number of times now, the Conservatives have put their hand up. You've had
Point
a
of order.
ruling now
Point of order.
twice
There's already a
on
point of
this,
order
and
right
the
now.
repetition
motion
is
on
What
Let
order
me
is he
finish.
referring to?
repetition. And I'm explaining the repetition here is because
He's
we've
act-
seen
misleading the
Major,
public right now.
Mr. Batiste has the floor.
His reference to us blocking this motion?
absolutely disgusting.
We are
what
not.
you're doing. It's
We are not
absolutely
by.
disgusting
Listen
for
to
First
me.
Nations
You had a
communities.
Just a
chance to
minute.
fix this motion and you didn't.
I have the floor.
Mr. Batiste, you have the floor.
I know,
Please
I-
go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And it's really important that we get to this study. And it's
Absolutely.
really important to First Nations communities, really important to Manitoba. And now
One comes
I
in,
have
then you
to-
speak.
I'm here as a guest, but I'm seeing something here where there's a really important matter to be studied. And twice now the chair has ruled that the interruptions coming from the Conservatives on things that are not related to this study, for them to get their study, is taking away from us getting to a very important point. And I want it to be on camera, and I want the Indigenous people across Canada, and I want all people in Manitoba to see and hear what's going on right now with this important issue needing to be addressed and needing to be spoken to and voted on, and the Conservatives won't allow it to happen. And I would
not a
think
point
to
of order.
them
Point of
that
order.
they should
It's
really
not a
look
point
within
of order.
themselves
What is he
and
quoting
really
from?
understand what they're doing to First Nations people and what they're doing
Point
to
of
Manitoba.
order.
Chair,
Point of
come
order.
on now.
I made it
It's enough
very,
slanders.
my point of order, I made it,
Listen to me. I'm the chair. I will dictate. I have called. Listen to me now. Members, I have the floor. Let me talk first. Then you can raise the point of order if you need to, but I have to acknowledge the next member on the list when I stop speaking. I have called. This amendment is out of order. The floor is with Mr. Bailey. Mr. Bailey, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Dr. Ellison, for this important study. I really agree with you, and I spent over a decade in Winnipeg, not only involved in hospital, but running the funeral home. And one of the things that I would like you to consider in your study is that we look at other provinces as well as Manitoba and look at syphilis. Syphilis has become just as major as HIV in Alberta. And I'm wondering if you would possibly consider expanding your study to take syphilis in as well as HIV, because it is that same community that we're discussing that these outbreaks are occurring, and it's become very problematic in Alberta. And if you'd like me to do a motion to it, I certainly would.
Mr. Dr. Olson, are you agreeing for the friendly amendment to that?
That's actually, that would actually be acceptable, yes.
Acceptable? Okay.
I would accept that as a
So
friendly amendment.
Everyone is in. Okay. So with that, so you are done, Mr. Bailey? Yes. Okay. Thank you. We will go to the speaking list is Ms. Chi, then Mr. Major, Dr. Olson, and Dr. Strauss. So, Madam Chi, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to get on the speaking list to commend my colleague, Dr. Elfson, for this fantastic motion. There is a public health crisis that's declared, and I think it's really incumbent upon us to do the study and figure out a way to help the folks in Manitoba. So I really just want to put on the record to thank Doug for his excellent work on this, and looking forward to study this subject.
Thank you. And we have Mr. Major. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. And yes, I agree, Dr. Elselson, this is a very important study. I was wondering actually a few different things to make it actually a more holistic study. You did mention about opioids and I think substance use disorders, and I was wondering about actually encompassing the opioid study that has not been completed yet, back from the last Parliament. That was actually when we first sat down here in the last round of last Parliament. Health Committee was actually just wrapping that up, or I think they had 4 more meetings. And then when we first sat down here in the new Parliament this fall, that was a Liberal promise that we were going to, once we were done the Liberal study, we were going to wrap up the opioid study, which we've never got to. So I'm wondering, in the essence of getting things cleaned up and making sure that we are very focused on this particular subject, if you would entertain an amendment to that we have 2 meetings on wrapping up the opioid study as well. So that would actually clean up, and then we could look at the whole systems on that. And that is in good faith, so we can all focus on that particular subject matter.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing. That's one motion. And then, of course, we'd want to add the minister as well to these meetings when she gets, make sure she gets invited, or the Minister of Health, because this does, a lot of these subjects do lie in the minister's kind of purview or control, and everything from allowing the exemption from the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act that allow consumption sites to exist in Canada, and then allowing the provinces to exist. So then the provinces can create their own drug sites as well. So there's lots to unpack there, I know, but I mean, I think by adding the opioid study into this, adding a couple more meetings into that, and then inviting the minister, I think that would make it a really good, robust study for us to sink our teeth into.
Before I go to you, Dr. A. Olson, just to clarify, it is my understanding that on September 23rd, 2025, there is already a motion in place to have 2 meetings on opioids, which we haven't studied before. So
we did study, just for clarity, we did study, and we were just to wrap them up. That's why the 2 meetings were referred to. So from the last Parliament, like they started there. So that's why the 2 meetings only.
Okay.
So that
Dr. A. Olson, please go ahead.
Thank you, and I appreciate the spirit of that. The problem is HIV and syphilis and diseases like this, the spread of them are very multifactorial. The study as is we're already going to be putting a lot into these 2 meetings. I'm afraid that if we add more and more to it, it tends to dilute down what we're talking about. There are issues with, involve, like the motion does say, people with substance abuse disorders, and those issues can be discussed in that, and I think that's covered in it. So I believe the issues that you're wanting to talk about here are already referred to in that, but the opioid study itself, substance use disorder, including opioids, is itself an extremely complicated issue. I think trying to then put some of that into yet another study tends to will dilute the subject matter too much. I think it's best if we leave that study as is, and do what we need to with that study. If there needs to be more on that study, we can do that. But I don't think adding more subject matter to this study would be in the best interest of getting all the questions answered that we want to. So I thank the honourable member for this suggestion. I don't think it is workable, given that we want to do this in 2 meetings.
Thank you, Dr. Olson. I'll go to Mr. Major. Mr. Major, floor is with you.
I guess I kind of can't believe actually that on one hand you say, oh, there's too much to study, so we got to narrow it down to 2 because there's too much material, and yet we can't spend time on the study because there's so much to study. I just, it's kind of a one or the other, right? So we all admit there's lots to study and there's lots of issues out there, especially when it comes to opioid. And it was, I might remind the member, you're the one that wrote the study. If you didn't want to include opioids in the study, you shouldn't have put it in there. But you did put it in there, so then all of a sudden the door is open. What I'm asking of you is let's spend 2 more meetings and let's get the opioid issue out in the committee. You know, we have to really consider a lot of different things. As a committee, we have a new chief medical examiner. We just ran across her the other day, and I'm sure she has a lot more to explain on this subject. We have the health minister that does have to come back and explain why she thinks fentanyl is safe to use next to children. There's lots of different things we can talk about. And then never mind about just what we are doing in Canada for opioid addictions and how consumption sites are not working, and where is the Liberal government going on this in the future. So what are we doing for treatment? What are we doing for recovery? And how did we get here with HIV? Like, obviously what we're doing is not working. And then to not acknowledge that in the study and only say, oh, only 2 days. I think there's lots of things that I think the provinces want to say in this study, and I would also welcome them to have them at the table as well when we start talking about this. So I would ask you again, please consider, and let's have the amendment on. Let's wrap this opioid study in, and include us for 2 more meetings.
Thank you very much, Mr. Major. As I said earlier, it was agreed on September the 23rd that the committee consider all testimony and evidence received by the committee during the study on the opioid epidemic and toxic drug crisis in Canada to have been received and adopted, that an interim report be produced and tabled before the committee before the inquiry continues, that the committee hold 2 more meetings to hear testimony from witnesses so that it can make recommendations and table its findings to the House of Commons. So this is already in place. So it's just a matter of doing the committee business, you know, when we want to do it. So that part is already there.
And that is what I'm asking, if we could just wrap that into this study. 2 more meetings with that, and then the study's done. We've got HIV, we've got opioids, and it's done. We can actually start moving forward to this on it. That is my amendment, and that's what I'm asking for.
So there is an amendment right now. So because I have to entertain the amendment, and now anyone want to speak on the amendment brought forward by Mr. Major? Okay. I have Mr. Rana and then Dr. Strauss. Dr. Rana.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you know, itself, opioid is a comprehensive study which already have been done. Now, again, if we bring that one, while schedule, but HIV is a bit different. HIV is itself is a big disease that needs a comprehensive attention. Our resources and our witnesses, so better we should just concentrate only on HIV, which is already, you know, is emergency in all over the province. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Strauss.
I want to thank my colleague, Mr. Mazur, for bringing this really important amendment to the floor. I just want to stress that this is about collegiality and collaboration. At the beginning of this committee, at the beginning of this parliament, a decision was made to review the women's health study from the last parliament and the opioid study from the last parliament, because the Conservatives wanted to review the opioid study, and some of the Liberal members as well, and the Liberals wanted to review the women's health study. And so an agreement was arrived at that we would do both. And now, so we already, as you've delineated for us, Mr. Chair, we already have this opioid study that the committee agreed to on the docket. And now we've spent 2 meetings with the Liberals trying to unilaterally add new things to the docket. I mean, the way this is going with the cameras getting turned off and them, I would say, abusing their very thin majority, I just don't have faith that we're actually going to get to do the opioid study that they agreed to do after very responsible negotiations. They agreed to it. So I don't have faith that they're not going to put this, I agree, important HIV study ahead of the one that they've already agreed to. And they're also at risk of putting it ahead of all the 3 studies that we've done but haven't completed reports on. And like, it's just, I don't know. I think Canadians would be embarrassed to see that the committee is rushing from study to study and not doing a report. Like we did the immigration policy and health study. It will be almost a year from when we started it that we even start the report if we move on to this HIV study. So like this is just not a way to run things. I feel like the rug's been pulled out from under us. Like again, I reiterate, we had a majority, the Conservatives in the Bloc, and we made all these concessions to them in the spirit of being collaborative and building Canada strong, et cetera, and for them just weeks after getting a floor crosser to try to totally overturn all of that was done in good faith, breaks faith with us. It is in bad faith. So I think that's really important, and I look forward to voting for Mr. Mazier's amendment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Any more debate? I don't see any, so is everyone in favor? No? In favor?
Of which?
Of the amendment brought by Mr. Mazier? No. Okay. So we'll have to call the vote then. I'll call the vote and.
Okay,
clerk
we're on
will
that.
take
We're voting on the amendment.
Amendment brought forward by Mr. Mazier. After the vote, please.
Miss Sidhu,
No.
Miss Chi,
Committee already agreed to study that motion at the
Just
start,
says
so
yes or
I'm
no.
saying no to diluting Mr. Doug Olson's motion.
Mr. Rana,
No.
Miss Jaczek,
No.
Mr. Elson,
No.
Mr. Baptiste,
No.
Mr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Nance,
Yes.
Mr. Mazier,
Yes.
Mr. Strauss,
Yes.
Mr. Blanchet-Jocard.
Oui.
Okay, the amendment is defeated. Now I will go to the speaking list on the motion as amended before.
Rappel au
So
règlement,
Dr.
Monsieur le
A. Olson, then Dr. Strauss.
Rappel au
Dr. A.
règlement.
Olson, you have the floor, and then Dr. Strauss.
Oh, no,
And
I will-
then I have Mr. Blanchet-Jonka, and then you.
Rappel au règlement.
I will cede my time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now Dr. Strauss, please.
Rappel au règlement, Monsieur le Président.
Point of order, Chair. Can you please explain to us why you accepted this time around the moving of an amendment without having received the translation? Because it's been more than an hour and 30 that we've been working on this, and I wanted to ask this before the vote, but you accepted this without having the translation. It would have been the more intelligent choice. This is a big concession on your part. You accepted a vote on an amendment without having it translated in both official languages, and it's quite serious in my opinion.
Blanchet-Jonka, I take it very seriously and respect both the official languages. And if you would have brought that forward, I would have suspended the meeting and would have done so what you wanted. And I'm sorry that you did not raise your hand before the vote. So once the vote was called, and you understand, if you wanted a copy of this motion, I wish you would have spoken what you have done now at that time, then I would have had, because I asked the people again that is there more debate on this? There was no debate. You did not say anything. So that's why I called the vote. I'm sorry, but next time I'll make sure that I come back to you.
Point de privilège, Monsieur le Président. Alors, là, vous me dites
A
que
question of privilege then, Mr. Chair. You're saying that I did not put my hand up before the vote. That's why you were not able to ask to have the amendment in both official languages. Well, it's really shying away from your responsibility, Mr. Chair. I mean, if you want us to keep an eye on how you do your work, we might do that, but it is your responsibility as the chair that the procedures and the regulations and the rules of the committees are applied. So you're saying doing something, and then afterwards you just told me that it's because I did not put my hand up before the vote. It's not an excuse, Mr. Chair. And I can confirm that I actually put my hand up before the vote, and you told me, well, do not take the floor before the vote, so I chose to respect that. I do accept your apologies, but you just confirmed that we need to keep an eye on your responsibilities. That's what you just told us.
I have done this, and I know I do this job very diligently and with fairness, and making sure that both official languages are respected. And I have worked with the block members previously. You can go talk to, Mr. Bruno Desap. He will tell you that I have always been very respectful to the Francophonies and Bloc Québécois. So I will make sure that next time I do pay attention and you would not be let down. Thank you.
Point of order.
Yes.
Was that a point of privilege that you brought up, Max?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so you need to rule on that
Yeah,
point.
but he already
It wasn't
said
a point
that.
of privilege?
But he said that he accepted my apology and he's moved on.
Oh.
Okay, you didn't listen
Did
then.
you accept
Mr.
it?
Major, I know
Oh,
that
I didn't listen.
I know,
I
Mr.
just heard a point of privilege, and I didn't hear a ruling. That's all that went on.
Mr. Major, this is where you are trying to interrupt, because the honorable member has already said that he has accepted my apology and he has been on. So you should have listened. I know it becoming a habit on your side to intervene or time and time again. So please pay attention. So we're gonna
making
take
sure
the
you had a
vote now.
voice.
Okay. So we'll.
What are we voting on?
We are going to Mr. A. So we are going to the speaking list, okay?
Yeah.
So if Mr. Major,
Who's
if
on the
you
list?
can stay a bit quiet, raise your hand if you want to speak. I will give you the hand, okay? Your turn will come. I'm going to say the speaking list now, okay? Yeah. If you respect the speaking list, the meeting will go very well. But you are the only one that try to interrupt time and time again, okay? So, Mr. Major, so the speaking list is Dr. A. Olson has took his name off. We will go to Mr. Strauss, then Mr. Blanchett Jonka, if you want to speak, and then Mr. Major. Okay, Dr. Strauss, you have your floor.
Thank you. I'm reiterating again, I look forward to doing the study that Dr. Elfson has proposed. I think that we should follow the work order that we already have before us. So I don't see why this motion has to be undertaken today. But as it has been undertaken, I think it's important that we consider, unfortunately, Mr. Mazur's amendment to consider the effects of opioid use was rebuffed. But I think we also need to consider the effects of prescription medications. The HIV crisis in Manitoba right now is different than 25 years ago when there were not, or 30 years ago, when there were not such effective prescription medications for HIV. And I think that if these rates are doubling or quadrupling as they have, that attention to the fact that almost definitionally means that individuals are not getting proper prescription medical care in terms of PrEP and PEP. So I also want to draw the committee's attention to some remarks that the Honourable Jane Philpott, Minister of Health, made to the Economic Club of Canada in 2017 regarding her plans to bring forward prescribe IT and on the practices of better prescribing and reduced overuse of drugs, including opioids, that this program held. She said, finally, a note on the importance of data. Data are the foundation of evidence-based policy and program decisions. Without data, we risk not being able to effectively identify inappropriate prescription practices, analyze the use of drugs, or offer support through monitoring after drugs enter the market. We will be asking the Canada Institute for Health Information to strengthen the database by collecting data regarding public and private drugs. Canada Health InfoWay's e-prescribing system that I mentioned earlier will also play a critical role in expanding the data available. Once complete, the drug
Point of order.
information system will be a comprehensive...
There now, Ms. G.
Relevance.
Just I'll give few more minutes, Dr. Strauss.
Oh, I
please.
think it's directly, I think I explained how this is directly relevant. Once complete, the drug information system will be a comprehensive system helping to improve the safe use of prescription drugs for Canadians. And so I'd like to move the following motion with the Honourable Jane Philpott's words in mind. I'd like to, move to amend Dr. Elfson's motion. At the end of the motion, and this is just coming to me through the debate that's been ongoing. So I don't have it in writing, but whereas e-prescription services held the promise of improving prescribing practices as pertains to HIV medicines, that Michael Green, the former and chief executive officer of Canada Health InfoWay, appear before the committee during the study for no less than 2 hours to testify on his role in the implementation and oversight of the Liberal government's failed $300 million prescribed IT program.
Okay, so right now, what I'm gonna do is it's already close to near 6 o'clock. So because I don't see there is gonna be a consent to pass this motion. So if you can send that in both official languages, I'm gonna suspend the meeting right now. Okay, meeting suspended.